All right. Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. We're going to get right to it. We got one announcement we want to talk about. Um, Skip's going to talk about that, and then we'll go ahead and we'll introduce Hannah from the Humane Society.
Okay, guys, I don't know for the people local to the Bay Area, this is going to apply to you guys. The rest of you are just going to have to live vicariously. But we're in our third week of three caring for caregivers. They do this every year, and this is, God, what is it, the 15th, I think? And, small note here, that's actually where I met Deidre on one of the first caregiver seminars they had. But at any rate, the one on Saturday is live. It's going to be at the Campbell Community Center from 10 until noon. And in fact, Deidre is going to be one of the two speakers. But I thought, if we get a group of us, I can save seats at a table and we can all sit around and do our thing. So if you guys would let me know if you're going to go to it or not, I can save you a seat. And how should we do this? I guess put it in the chat. I guess that'd probably be the least disruptive way to do it. And hopefully some of the people that come on later will be able to do it then too. So, okay, good.
So, and just to reinforce that, I put in the chat page 2 from the bulletin, which has all the specific details of the event and how you can get signed up. On the PDF that I send out with the email is a hot link to get to those connections to be able to get signed up to come to the event on Saturday. And as I said in the bulletin, you don't need to have attended the previous events to get something out of going on Saturday, because that they kind of make it on purpose. It's going to be a culmination of everything is going to happen on Saturday, live in person. All righty. So we're so happy and privileged today. We have Hannah here from the Humane Society of Silicon Valley, and she's going to give us an update on the latest and greatest opportunity that we have with the Humane Society of Silicon Valley. So go ahead, Hannah.
Hi there. Thank you all so much for having me today. You may see on my screen here, I have got kind of our cover sheet as well as some closed captions up. I will say I am physically in our shelter at the moment, so you may hear some cross traffic, though I think we're unlikely to hear any barking or meowing at the moment, but it's always possible.
Unless it
Um,
comes from my house. No.
there you go. Perfect. Well, thank you all so much. I am going to start off today sharing a little bit about our shelter, kind of in particular. I will say all shelters are actually most of which are independent nonprofit. So while all of these things apply to the Humane Society in Silicon Valley, they may not all apply to every shelter across the country, though many are going to have very similar programs. So I will say if it doesn't apply to your local shelter, there may be something very similar, similar names. A lot of us use animal puns in our naming, so might be kind of other fun ways we're describing things. A little bit about me. I have my contact information up here, so always welcome questions, engaging further. I serve as our community engagement specialist. So that kind of looks in two main parts here. One is our community events focused on education, services, just connecting with different communities in the Bay Area. The second is our organizational partnerships. So that could be volunteering, May is Mental Health Awareness Month, so we always do a lot of puppy therapy in that month. Looks like a lot of kind of different elements there. I also have highlighted my animal companion. So his name is Hoppy. He is a 4-year-old rescue. He actually came through another rescue that was all foster based, which is kind of beautiful full circle because I am a big puppy foster parent and he loves puppies as well as peanut butter, though best not together. Perfect. So with Humane Society Silicon Valley, we are based in Milpitas, California, so kind of South Bay area. I have on here our mission and vision, so I won't read it off to you here because I'm going to kind of go through our different strategic initiatives afterwards, which kind of go into each of those. I've also got lots of pictures of our team, our volunteers, and of course our animals kind of sprinkled in throughout the presentation as well here. This is one of our long-term cat volunteers. Her name is Kathleen, and this is actually a kitten that has ringworm that she is helping treat in the photo. So kind of a unique thing to our shelter is we're able to treat some of those more contagious diseases. Okay, so for our strategic initiative, HSSV has kind of three main focuses, or buckets, you could say, that we try to really dive into. So, our first one is called Saving Lives. It's what you think of with a shelter. So, taking in animals who need care, be it medical, physical, behavioral, getting them all the TLC they need, and then off to foster and ultimately adoptive homes. One way we've really expanded upon that is we actually do what's called a rescue roadster into the Central Valley. You might be able to hear a puppy in the background here. And we would go pick up anywhere between 10 and 49 dogs at a time, twice a week. And in kitten season, of course, then that's going to up then because kittens tend to be bored in the warm months in the Bay Area. So we'll see more of those, but it's a little more seasonal. Our second initiative is focused on keeping families together. So, thinking especially during the pandemic, a lot of us were struggling financially. And we want to make sure all of our community members don't have to make the hard decision about rehoming a pet because they're having trouble accessing pet food or accessing veterinary care. In our eyes, best case scenario is an animal staying with a family that loves it, knows its courts. They already kind of have that bond. A lot of us consider our pets family members. So we want to make sure none of our families are separated. So that works in two different ways. One, I kind of touched on there is our pet pantry program. I'll go more in depth with it here in just a minute, but I'm really happy to share that in the last fiscal year, we gave out 1.255 million meals, and we're averaging about 100,000 a month. So lots of pet food, as you can expect. The second area is for veterinary care. So we have mobile clinics. We have this beautiful, we call our mobile surgical unit, essentially a giant RV that we converted to be able to do surgery on. So we're actually able to bring that to locations where folks are having a hard time coming to us. We can bring the services to them. Our last one is changing the game. So that's really focused on the fact that all shelters have access to different resources, we'll have different donor bases and supporters. Our shelter is very privileged. We have really incredible supporters. We have world-class veterinarians, and not just one or two, we have a full staff of them. That's something that most shelters don't have access to. And so, how can we support animal welfare outside of our four walls and outside of just the Bay Area? So, I'll touch on that as we get a little bit further in there. Also, feel free to let me know if we have any questions. I don't have the chat up on my side, but I'm pulling it up here. So I'm happy to answer any questions kind of in real time that folks have as well. Perfect. Oh, we have an alumni who's mentioned here. Ringo, we always love hearing about our alum. Thanks for sharing. That is perfect. All right, jumping on our next slide here. So our first part being saving lives. So I want to make sure I'm highlighting specific access to services for our seniors as well. I want to make sure I'm getting you information that's really applicable to us all here. And happy to answer anything further on these as well. So for adoptions in particular, we do have additional discounts for seniors, especially for adopting senior pets. We oftentimes find that's a really beautiful partnership. For fostering, like I said, I'm a big puppy foster. So if anyone wants to talk about it, I love a big breed puppy. The beautiful thing about our foster program in particular is the goal is that our foster families never pay for anything. They're provided all of the supplies, all of the support. All they need to do is have a loving home that they're able to bring them back with. That also includes a foster mentor. So we connect our new fosters with someone who's a much more experienced foster who can answer questions kind of in real time as well, which is always a huge bonus because each puppy and kitten is very different from the next. So those are going to be under that kind of Saving Lives initiative. So again, feel free to throw any questions here in the chat. Our next one is going to be that keeping families together. So again, for us in particular, we have our pet pantry program. So making sure folks have access to pet food, be it wet or dry. In particular, we have a delivery service that we're able to provide for folks who might be homebound or have mobility concerns, and making sure that coming into us isn't the prohibitive factor. We want to make sure anyone who needs that food is able to access it. For us, all folks need is an ability to show that they're a resident of Santa Clara County. There's no other barriers to accessing there. Our next service is going to be that veterinary care. So, in particular, our mobile clinics. We do vaccine clinics in the shelter. Actually, this Saturday, we are going to be at Bark in the Park in San Jose for any of our local folks. We're giving out 100 free vaccines while supplies last. So, really making sure we have it in multiple ways for folks to be able to access those services. All right. And before I jump into our next one, which is changing the game, I just want to give a little additional context with our shelter. So, in particular, folks may have seen online or social media if you're in the Bay Area, but our shelter had a really significant fire mid-December. I'll start off by saying everyone's safe. No people, no animals were harmed. Our sprinklers were incredibly effective, which unfortunately means we're dealing with a lot of water damage and a lot of smoke damage. So those are both two things, of course, that we can't house our animals in. We want to make sure they're in kind of safe conditions. And so, in particular, our foster families are such an incredible and an important resource because we're able to continue those services. And I think the team is really proud to share that most of our community members have not had to feel that pause in services. We're still processing adoptions, still bringing in animals twice a week from the Central Valley. And because we have our mobile surgical unit, we actually were able to resume surgery within 48 hours after the fire. So we've been facing a bit of adversity, but I think the team has been just incredibly appreciative of all the community support we've received afterwards. That's our little bit of
Do
context there.
do you take animals from other areas that have had catastrophes, like, with the hurricanes in Florida and, of course, our wildfires and things?
That's a great question. We have historically. I will say the Maui fires in particular, they had a really large cat sanctuary that was pretty dramatically impacted. So we had someone who was able to fly out. Gosh, I don't remember the number of cats, but we have brought in animals from other parts of the country.
The body shop.
Absolutely. We also have had, unfortunately, when the LA fires occurred, it was within the same week as our shelter fire. So I think our team was really disappointed we weren't able to and have more of a helping hand in that situation. Though we did have a wonderful influx of towels and blankets, which of course are an important resource that we were able to share with them as well, because we had such an outpouring of support here with those resources. Though I know the team wishes we would have been able to do a little more, but with our limited capacity, that was one we were a little limited on. All right, I have two videos here next, but I'll pause for if folks have any questions on any of our services. And feel free to throw them in the chat as well. I'll give just a moment here in case we've got anyone typing. Okay, well, I will introduce our videos here next. I have got two videos. They're our mutual rescue series. This is a program that we are really excited about. They actually highlight stories all over the country. So you're going to see one here that is focused on our friends on the East Coast. Not New York, but I think it's New Jersey here. And then a second video that actually is back in our backyard, so back with HSSB. I'll pause between the videos here. So Mutual Rescue is really focused on highlighting not only the wonderful benefits that we as people receive from animals, how we rescue them, but how they rescue us. So I will say, if folks want to turn their videos off because they get a little teary-eyed, I understand. I always recommend not watching these before important meetings. I tried to pick two that are in particular not too heart-wrenching. So I will say there's going to be a range. So both of these are going to be up here, and I'll kind of introduce them as we go. And let me know if the sound is not working for anyone here. I think we should be all set.
I was just feeling kind of lost, a little bit lonely. My neighbor knew that I was feeling a little bit depressed, so she suggested I look into Marty's place. Once I got into working here, I'm volunteering, I knew that I had a purpose.
When I first retired, I really couldn't sort of find my niche in what to do next, something that would make me feel fulfilled. Working at Marty's place does that for me. I currently don't have a dog at home, so coming here 3 days a week or so sort of fills that void for me.
When you save a senior dog, they know what you've done for them, and they are incredibly grateful. We do really consider ourselves a family here. There are many seniors that have gravitated to our organization in terms of volunteering and spending time. They feel that they're not in a position to have their own pet, but they really enjoy the companionship and enjoy giving back. And really gives an individual a sense of purpose. The benefit is really two ways. It's the dog receiving that love from the individual, and then it's the dog giving that love back.
It's nice to have a place where older dogs can come to. I think it's like being in heaven here.
I routinely volunteer on Thursday mornings because we do treadmill with the dogs that day. The water therapy gives them a little bit more of an intensive therapy without it being too severe for them. We do everything for these dogs in their last years of life. I've watched some of the dogs get healthier. It makes you proud.
It's just a good feeling that you've been able to help the dogs, and I've enjoyed doing what I'm doing.
It's nice to work with a group all sort of for the same purpose, all sort of coming in here because they love animals. It's been very good for me.
It's a fulfilled feeling. There's no other way to put it. It's made a big difference in my life.
Okay, thank you all. So that was our first video here. Our mutual rescue series, as you can see, is a really kind of beautifully produced series sharing about how not only we rescue animals, they rescue us back. And it gives us the opportunity to highlight shelters who are doing innovative and really amazing things across the country. So as you can see, that wasn't our shelter in particular, but again, trying to really help animal welfare in a wider sense. Our second video here actually is with our shelter in particular. Oh, excuse me. Who wants to keep going with me here? Thank you. Our next video is actually with our shelter in particular. Really beautiful series. I do want to give everyone kind of a heads up. There is an animal that passes away in the series of the video. So again, if that's something that might be a little bit harder here, feel free to turn off your camera, put it on pause. Again, I believe should have captions here, but we'll share that video. Again, just give an opportunity if anyone has any questions here. I'll leave just a minute in case things come through here.
Well,
Are we able to unmute and just ask, or should we type it in the chat?
I'm very open either way, whichever way folks would prefer.
Yeah, sorry. Hi, I'm Linlin. Thank you. Sorry, I was jumping in from another meeting. And where are your facilities located?
Yeah, absolutely. So our shelter in particular is in Milpitas, California, so very near to San Jose.
Oh, okay, wonderful. Thank you.
Absolutely. I saw someone else had unmuted in case we have another question. All right, perfect. Well, I will start the next video here. And thank you all for the comments in the chat here. That's so nice to see. Excited to share kind of more about some of our other videos.
Bobby was just that cat that would be there whenever we came back, waiting at the front door. He knew where we were and when we were arriving home. And that was a beautiful trait that serves a huge, huge role with my mom and then with our family. My name is Steve. I'm here in Santa Clara, California. My mom, Lillian, is in an assisted living facility close by. About 14 years ago, my mom wanted cats to be able to come and play with, but she couldn't take care of the cats by herself in her, at that time, senior apartment. So she went to Humane Society, Silicon Valley, and helped us select our first cat. Bobby, even when he was young, although he was very inquisitive, he was also very, very loyal, loving and loyal. Baby was a young, rambunctious cat. My mom really enjoyed the cat. She would come over and play with him. She would teach us how to groom them, feed them. It was a very nice relationship where my mom didn't have to worry about the cats, but she could own the cats and take care of the cats. It was very interesting, the role that a pet could play to assist my mom. It's like a universal joy in my mom's face when she comes and visit the cats. She remembers the feeling of them just being friendly to her. It is very good feeling for a son to know that your mom feels good and is happy about life, not confused. And Bobby and Baby gave her that sort of, that grounding. In the COVID lockdown period, Bobby was having a difficult time eating, and so we were concerned about Bobby's health. My mom really didn't understand what COVID was. Why could she not visit us, come over for a meal, and then play with the kitty cats? We found through Humane Society, Silicon Valley, a program called the Pet Pantry. So we applied, my mom and myself. We were able to say, is there any chance to try this flavor? And because they could look around and see what was donated, they'd say, hey, try this. He would have not eaten anything, the regular food that we have. He would just turn away and basically wither. That program was the reason why Bobby has been alive for the last 2 years. My mom would come over and she would visit the cats, and it just would be like old times. When she sees Baby and Bobby, you see her face light up and smile. It meant a lot for both of us. One day we got home, and Bobby wasn't waiting at the front door. He was still alive in his little hut. We said to him, you've done a really good job with my mom, giving her some happiness in life. We said, it's okay. It's okay. You can go to heaven. And so the next morning, I woke up. I found him lying there. He had already passed. He's still warm. We know that he had a good life, and it was important to us that he passed in peace. Saying goodbye to Bobby doesn't even get an emotion out of my mom with Alzheimer's. In her mind, Bobby would last forever. It was not a matter of saying goodbye, it was more a matter of constant joy. The comfort that cat gave from 14 years ago still resides in my mom's memory. And that's what I think sort of kept her going. Now we have the surviving younger cat, Baby. When she comes and visits us, she'll get that same joy by seeing him and remembering those feelings of loyalty and friendship and companionship.
Well, as you can see here, that was one of our stories from Humane Society. I always get a little choked up with Bobby and Baby, so my voice shouldn't crack here, but in case it does, we know why. As you can see, our Changing the Game is really focused on sharing really some of the amazing work being done all over the country with animal sheltering. These two videos were a part of our Seniors Saving Seniors series. We actually had kind of a whole series focused on those efforts because I think a lot of us here can recognize that beautiful impact that animals and seniors have on each other. But not everyone's going to be aware of that. So we want to be able to kind of help highlight it across the country. Go on to our next slide. Oh, all right. So those are most of my prepared kind of items here. Again, really happy to answer any questions, connect about any of our services. Again, while not every single shelter is going to have the exact same services as us, I will say there is a much bigger push to have access to care services. So think like that pet pantry, vaccine clinics, reduced vaccines, kind of different efforts like those. So hopefully we'll see that at a lot of our local shelters where we're at. But these are really highlighting the ones for us over in Silicon Valley. So again, I've got my my companion animal here, Hoppy, with me to answer any questions. So I just really appreciate everyone's time and learning a little bit more about that kind of magical human animal bond. Any questions for me?
I don't suppose you do anything with service dogs or guide dogs or anything like that, do you? That seems like a different company.
That's a great question. Yeah, it will be slightly different companies. We have had folks adopt animals from our shelter where they then go on to be trained to be like an emotional support animal or specific task-oriented service animals. Though, of course, that training unfortunately is not able to be done in our shelter. I will say companion animals. I believe it's Companion Animals of the West is going to be our local one. They do some really amazing work with service animals and they're really specific kind of task training. So I see a couple questions here in the chat, so I'll jump on those. One says, how far do you provide with services out of Milpitas? For our services, it's going to be most of Santa Clara County. So kind of any that'll all include in those services there. For our vaccine clinics or our veterinary access to care, those, as long as folks are able to come to us, if they are further out from Santa Clara County, those will still be accessible. Though when we're taking our services out into different parts of the community, we are focusing on Santa Clara County. Of course, adoptions, fostering, those will support even further out. For fostering in particular, if folks say live in San Mateo, which of course would then be San Mateo County, as long as they're able to get to us and bring in their animals for their vaccines, spay neuter, those we can all do as well.
So you don't have a residency requirement?
We do for our pet pantry. So that'll be for Santa Clara County residents. But for our veterinary services, no, it will not be. So a little different there.
Yeah. And then, so do you have relationships built though with San Mateo? They have a Humane Society or equivalent in San Mateo County and other counties.
Yeah, absolutely. So we do partnerships kind of with our shelters all over, I would say the Bay Area as well as the Central Valley. I in particular do not know all of what services are available at like the Peninsula Humane or Pets in Need. I know those are going to be some of our mid-peninsula shelters. Though I will say they're also incredible shelters who are going to have more information. But absolutely, we have different connections, so each shelter does things slightly differently.
And for
Okay.
community
ahead.
outreach, like this is community outreach, which is amazing. And do you, so if you can give us an example of community outreach that you guys, like if we were to organize something in what we do with our businesses, could we invite, do you have community like yourself to come and participate at any type of events that we would be having and organizing?
Yeah, great question. So for virtual, this kind of gives us the opportunity to go far-reaching.
Yeah.
So that definitely is always an option. For in-person, I have gone, gosh, I've gone as far as South San Francisco and Gilroy. So I'm able to spread out a little bit here. That's a little more different just because we have to transport supplies, things like that. But yeah, absolutely. We do outreach and community events. Some kind of examples of those have been, we did the Santa Clara School District Earth Day event. So talking about things like foxtails, how to make toys out of recycled purposes. So certainly a very different kind of topic from today, but we do lots of different ones here. Um, Perfect. And I am just checking in for some other questions here. So I have one for the best website to direct for more information on resources. So yep, hssv.org is going to be perfect. Going to be exactly where I would go to get more of those resources. You're welcome to email me as well. I've got my email there on the screen. If you're having trouble finding the resource on the website, very happy to direct you to it or get you connected with the right person. Alrighty, next one I'm seeing on here is going to be nowadays companion animals are allowed in rentals without extra payment on rent. Is that true? That might be slightly less of a question for me if someone else might be able to answer here. My understanding is yes, as long as there is a either emotional service animal directive from a doctor or service animal item there. My understanding is it's without extra rent and without an extra security deposit. But actually, y'all might have a little bit more expertise on that than I do.
Actually, a funny story about that. In my more youthful days, I rented out a room in the house to renters, and of course, there's always a lot of people that can be problems or whatever, but I allowed animals, well, actually dogs, I'm allergic to cats, and I had some great relationships with some of the renters' dogs while they were here, and I thought that was it's a great way to live vicariously through OPDs. And same thing when I used to go out on the bicycle on the Los Gatos Creek Trail, which is notorious for people walking their dogs, and I'd take some of my treats with me and feed the dogs, and they all got to know me pretty well after a few treats. So, um, you can look into whether a place is able to accommodate animals. Usually for a rental, it's in the lease, or the manager or whatever can talk to about it. But it's always a benefit if they can take them.
I'd have to confirm with our property management professionals, but companion animals with a emotional support pets. So if you have an applicant, a renter applicant that has an emotional support pet, it has to be processed, and there's still pet deposits that can be incurred, but that can be confirmed on a because Cheryl, you're shaking your head.
Yeah, no, it falls under
Hi,
the
Cheryl!
I believe it's Americans with Disabilities Act. So I think both like a traditional animal for support, like a guide dog, and an ESA. So even if it's for like anxiety, depression, as long as it's qualified, the doctor writes a letter, then it's I believe it's covered by ADA Act.
Yes, that's correct. And thank you so much for chiming in on that, because there, with the property management and what we're subjected to and how we have to process things and work with the ADA, it's all very complicated. So I really appreciate that. So hi, Cheryl. Thanks
Hi.
for being here. All right. Anybody else have any questions? The Humane Society, so tying that in with especially if we have families, when we go out and talk to our senior homeowners and the families of senior homeowners, and we make some observations, we would like to be able to refer a family to the resources of the Humane Society. And if we do so, do you have an outreach program? Say we have a concern about a family, we would love for them to have your information, and we gave it to them. But people don't always utilize, and sometimes we'd like to be able to get a little further action. Do you guys have outreach like that?
That is a great question. Thank you for asking. We do a little bit. So we do have our community services team, very similar named with my department, but very different roles. So they actually perform our mobile clinics. So that would be something where if we're thinking veterinary services, they'll have the most updated information on where to access those vaccines, spay neuters, wellness exams as well. So all can be great services and can give kind of updates on where those clinics are going to be located. But I will say that's going to be mostly on our website. As of right now, we don't have a lot of services available for us kind of doing continual outreach to folks we think might be able to access the services, in particular, because we have so many folks accessing them, which is wonderful. Though, of course, reaching out to the departments can always CC us, especially if it's via email. So I know that's not accessible for everyone, and our team would make sure to follow up. Same with our pet pantry, but we don't do too much kind of reaching out to someone who hasn't reached out to us, if that makes sense.
And then your pet pantry, that gives me an idea. So, your pet pantry, so do you do some like recruiting to fill up your pantry? Like if we held something with our organization to create a pet pantry donation drive or something like that? Do you do that?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So we always are grateful for kind of pet food drives. Our main requirements are just that the food is unopened and unexpired. But absolutely. The other kind of fun opportunity we have, which goes under my group volunteerism, is one of the types of food that we really focused on is food that we actually purchase in bulk. There are these 40-pound bags that we actually break down into 3 and 5-pound bags for individual families. We found about a 29% cost savings with that. So all of the food is purchased with donated dollars. We want to really be good stewards of that, stretch it as much as possible. So there's different opportunities about once a week actually to come in as a group and help break down the food. So that would be another opportunity as well that's kind of interesting. But pet food drives are always going to be important, especially wet food. That's a nice one. You can see with Bobby, it was nice for him to have kind of different foods to try. That's kind of one way we were able to look at it there.
Yeah. Oh, amazing. Yeah, it gives me lots of ideas. Okay, wonderful. Anybody else got any questions, comments, anything you want to share? Lynn.
I'm so sorry. My mom just passed away on Saturday and I'm preparing for her memorial and I have like
Oh my
we also have
God.
a property management thing and we're doing an eviction and I'm communicating with the commissioner and the judges. So things are a little crazy here. That did get me teary-eyed. And I am not like, we don't have pets. We did have a cat at one point in our lives, and I didn't think of myself as a pet person, but I remember even though we just had Mona just for a very short time that she was with us, it was pretty emotional. And I can only imagine this gentleman and his mom having this, Bobby for, was it 12 years or whatever time frame they had her? And that was very like, wow, that could have been something to help my mom because my mom also, she had memory, or I guess it was dementia. And I was like, wow, maybe I should get, my dad with this program. And I'm sorry if you answered this, but So if we brought my dad to the facility in Milpitas, would you or somebody there be like, how does it work? Like, to show him the animals, and would he be able to maybe visit to see if this is something he wanted to do later on to adopt one of these rescue pets or?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you for asking, and I'm really sorry for your loss. Thank you for sharing that. But yes, for your dad, absolutely can come into our shelter. Though a lot of the physical space is closed kind of after we're dealing with a fire that we had in December. We do have adoptable animals on site, both of which your dad and you would be able to go in and meet. Kind of how the process looks for our shelter is folks will sign in kind of at our front door, our front entry point there. You'll meet with one of our matchmakers, which is my favorite volunteer opportunity. You get to kind of help folks see, like, does this animal, are they going to fit your lifestyle? Is your home and lifestyle going to fit their needs? So I would say a good example for this, you can see my dog on the screen here. He's pretty much every active breed you can think of. So he is super, super active, but our family is big runners. So he actually runs 5Ks with me pretty frequently. So we're a match, but he's not going to fit for every home, right? So our matchmakers would be able to give you a lot of information about maybe what animals would be best for different families. And then we're able to process the adoption same day, which is really exciting. We do have some of our adults, so in particular dogs, are going to be in foster homes. I like to say our large adult dogs are mostly in foster homes because the shelter can be a little overstimulating for them, as well as some of our shyer small adult dogs. Um, so both of which may be matches for your dad, but just kind of so you know, those guys in particular probably aren't at the shelter kind of if you just stop in. However, if you fill out on the form like, oh, maybe this pet might be a match, they can actually bring them to the shelter to meet with your family. So, and
Mm,
there's of course no obligation to adopt because we want to make sure it's a good match. So those
mm.
are kind of, I would say, our best process there.
Okay, and do we contact Marty's place or do we contact you to make appointments?
Yeah, absolutely. So I would say wherever your local shelter is. So if we're wanting to look at Milpitas, it's just right on our website here, and I can actually throw it in the chat here in just a moment. It'll have, I would go on our adoptions portion, and then you can actually see all of our adoptable animals in real time. I will
Mhm.
say the Bay Area, so for us in particular, has a really high adoption rate, which is amazing. So actually the animals change relatively frequently. So you're going
Mm,
to see that it kind of updates. Because we have that high adoption rate, we actually go to the Central Valley to pick up animals twice a week. So
mm.
pretty consistently, we're going to have more animals on our site. If at one particular time, maybe there isn't an animal that's a match, there might be in a week or two later.
So are they all trained, or do we do the training because we haven't had any experience with that?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So, our team has a really robust behavior team. So, every animal that comes through our shelter is going to get a behavior assessment. So, really, we want to make sure we have a starting place, right? To make sure what are their different quirks? Are there different things they're more fearful of, different things they're more excited about? So, that'll give you a really good kind of basis. All puppies come with free puppy trading classes. So we want to make sure we're setting folks up for success. So both the person and the animal can come in for trainings, as well as if there are animals. So I always like to say for adults, it's really nice because you'll get an assessment on, are they potty trained? Are they litter trained? Would they do well in a place with a fence? Would they do well in a place where you're going to have frequent visitors? They'll kind of be able to give you an assessment there. But they won't necessarily have, some will have different levels of training. So not every puppy is going to be potty trained, for example.
Mm-hmm.
But
Okay.
you should have all the information so you kind of know exactly what you're getting from the start. That's really our goal. As well
Okay.
as after the adoption, we have post-adoption support. So you can always email in and our behavior team will answer questions, as well as if there's different kind of adoption behavior support we can do afterwards.
So, sorry, just one more clarifying question. So you mentioned puppy. For some reason, I thought these were like dogs that are older dogs, but you have all kinds of ages of dogs, right?
We do, we do. So might be where there's the difference there. The first video that I highlighted was actually for another shelter. So that was for a shelter over in New Jersey. So they're really specifically focused on seniors. We
Okay.
do both seniors and adults and puppies.
Oh.
There is a shelter in San Francisco called Muttville. They're going to be very similar. So they are all senior dogs. So it's some shelters kind of have different focuses. We do the range of age. We do I like to say our bottle babies. So ones where we truly are feeding them with puppy and kitten formula from a bottle, all the way to adults. So it's a big range.
What
Uh,
age do you consider a senior dog?
I believe it's 6+.
Okay.
And one more question. So the people, or I don't know if you call them adoptees or the adopters, I guess, the people who come and adopt the dogs in your shelter, are they seniors or you just like anyone can adopt any kind of dog type of shelter?
No, great question. For our shelter, it is anyone. We try to make it truly as barrier free as possible.
Okay. Okay, great. Thank you.
Absolutely. I see another question in the chat here. If senior dogs are already trained, wonderful question. We will ensure that every dog we have an assessment of how trained they are so that every folk adopting kind of knows where they're starting at. The longer a dog is in our care, the more training they're going to get. So one of our really wonderful roles at the shelter is our animal care and enrichment team. So these are the folks that feed, clean, and also provide enrichment to our animals. They'll be doing different trainings, sit stays, going potty training, not jumping on folks. So they'll work with them kind of as they're in our care. But I will say it's not going to be every single animal that adopted is fully trained in every capacity. Kind of every animal is going to be at a different starting point. And then the more they're in our care, we want to do everything we can to make them as easy to adopt as possible. So we'll do more training the longer they're in our care. I hope that answered those questions on training. Those are great questions, and unfortunately, there's not a super simple answer.
Can you
Okay, I
tell
think
us currently if we identify a family that has an immediate need to have whatever pets they have in their home rehomed or sort of, because a lot of times we get people in crisis. So we want to be able to say something like, okay, we can just call the Humane Society, get the situation described, and then get some instructions. Do you have work or stuff for that?
that's a great question. Yeah. So for most shelters, that's going to be under community services. Some shelters are open intake, some are closed intake, which is kind of our language for we'll bring in every animal brought to the shelter and some a little bit less. So with our shelter, because of the fire, we're what you'd consider a little bit more closed. So we strategically make sure we're going out to our overcrowded shelters, who are those open ones, to make sure we're getting animals out of those situations as fast as possible. If there's a situation where like hoarding is often an example that we'll see come up, I would really connect with local governmental animal care services. They're going to have the most information and are most likely to be able to bring them in. But you can always contact any shelter because they should have the information even if they aren't the right party. So like our community services, while we might not be the ones to take the animal in, our team would be able to point you to the right parties.
So it was not mentioned, sorry, I'm just muting on another meeting. There was nothing that was mentioned regarding 9,000.
I think that might be for another meeting
Yeah.
here. I've muted.
So just to that point, I'm just going to describe something because my local is the San Jose Animal Shelter, San Jose Animal Care Clinic, right?
Mhm.
So historically, what happens is we in whatever something's going on, and they're like, "No, we're full. We can't we can't call the Humane Society."
Mm.
And I'm like, "Okay, well, I called them. They can't either." And
Mhm.
then we go back and forth and back and forth. Have you guys like figured that out lately?
There should be better process in place now, yes. If there are any particular cases, always make sure to reach out to our community services. The goal would be is that you're not having to go back and forth, right? Because that's it. This is our kind of realm. We should be able to help make sure you're getting to the right party. My understanding, and again, I'm a slightly different department, is that in animal care, so SAJAX is kind of our local one, so San Jose Animal Care and Control would be the right party. We actually help transfer in animals when they're getting too full, so that should hopefully help offset that. Um, so in short, hopefully that should be smoother, kind of ongoing and in the future. And if it's not smooth, reach out to us because we want to do everything we can to help in that situation, even if we aren't the right party.
Right, and that's why I was asking earlier too about your connections and communications with the other organizations all over the Bay Area, because if we have a need, yeah, we could probably get up to the peninsula, or we could get over to Contra Costa if we have to, because
Mhm.
the San Jose Animal Care Center, just says no. And then you guys are full. And then, we have to, but we still have a family that needs to be rehomed. Something needs to happen because they're facing a crisis or a challenge.
Mhm.
So, yeah. So I
No,
appreciate that.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. There's also always kind of another area where we might be able to be creative on our side is there are sometimes breed specific rescues. So for example, like a German Shepherd specific rescue, where even if it's not city and county, if it happens to fit that breed, maybe again they'll be able to take in because they're kind of experts in that area. Those might be other ways that we're able to get creative if local shelters aren't open or have space. So that's definitely where I mean, make sure to reach out to us if you're running into those roadblocks. 'Cause we want to
Yeah.
help smooth that
Perfect.
out.
Yep. Yeah, exactly.
Mhm.
What do you guys think about all that? Do you have challenges with that in your own communities? Just
Hannah,
me.
what happens if a dog tends to bark a whole lot, or they might be aggressive? Are they not considered for adoption, or is there training for them, or what happens?
No, that's a great question. So for us, that's absolutely something we'd address kind of in that initial behavior assessment. So for example, we had one or two small adults here who were getting really overstimulated in the shelter, and that resulted in barking, getting frustrated, or perhaps aggressive, or perhaps maybe it's not going to result in any kind of harm, but they're gonna maybe freak out someone who might walk past them because that barking can be pretty assertive. Those would be things that we would help address with them, as well as, of course, trying to get them into a situation that's not going to be overstimulating them. So getting them, that's a great example of our foster homes. And we work with very trained fosters, so we make sure they know exactly what they're working with there and help work with them on kind of ongoing training.
Give them a timeout.
Yeah, a rest. Exactly. We talk about that for a lot of our big breed dogs. So there, I had one dog trainer tell me, for my dog, as an example, right? High energy, large, really needs a lot of engagement. If he was in a shelter, hearing, seeing, and smelling other dogs, but not able to get out that physical energy, for him, that would be like being in a nightclub 24/7. No one's on their best behavior if they're in that situation for a prolonged period of time. So for him, being in a home is maybe closer to being in a library or a coffee shop. It's just much less overstimulating for him. We were trying to really focus on kind of what does the different animals need.
Carlos, you have a good question there.
I'm
Do
seeing,
you want me to articulate it?
Yeah.
I just wanted to know that dogs are not neglected because seniors may not be able to walk with the dog. So we need somebody who's going to walk them on a regular basis.
yeah,
Is there any
absolutely.
service for that?
That's a great question. So for in our shelter, we don't have a service where we're able to go out to different homes to help walk. We would be really intentional when we're helping consult with someone who's adopting, though, of kind of working through with them, what options are at your fingertips? Do you have neighbors? Is there the WAG services online, things like that? Kind of working with them to know these are going to be the needs of the dog. How can we work together to help make sure those needs are met? So it's going to be kind of different for each person. Unfortunately, we're not able to provide that service out in the community, but we'd want to make sure in the process of the adoption that we're addressing those concerns.
You
Yeah,
mean
because I hear you there as well.
I'm sorry. You mean getting neighbors involved? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, so it could be, for example, if we're working with someone who is wanting to adopt, and we know that the dog that they're adopting is going to need a certain amount of exercise, and maybe they're not able to provide it themselves. We talk with them about, okay, so what would a plan be for when we're at home? Do we have neighbors? Do we have relatives? Are there different services we might be able to utilize? That'd be kind of a part of the adoption plan, is going through these are the dog's needs.
Right,
Are there
because
different avenues we want to pursue?
there are walkers, but they charge. And I don't think seniors have the extra money for that.
Right.
Skip, what's that? Which volunteer organization? What's the name of that one that has volunteers for seniors? And I think you can call and ask for help with your dogs or because I can't think of it. It's not SourceWise, but SourceWise might have
I wonder if
something.
Heart of the Valley or Love Inc. would do
Yeah,
it.
Heart of the Valley. That's the one. Yeah, Carlos, we'll get you the information. We've had them. They're amazing.
They may or may not be able to do that, but it doesn't hurt to ask.
No, and if they don't, they might have somebody that knows that does. So that does that.
You see,
Carlos, if we can't find anybody, maybe we can organize something.
maybe I can walk the dogs myself.
Yeah.
So all of these objections for people to adopt dogs or any other animals, they need to be addressed on front, so there are no objections, and they are services that they can feel like, oh, I don't have to worry about this and that, because there is always something that, oh no, I cannot do that because of this reason. So animals need to be adopted, and we need to organize some kind of community event where we can bring awareness for all the community to know that this is something that can be source, can be, have a solution for it.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
So are you willing to work with us on that? Maybe we can put something together.
I'm very happy to. Absolutely. If there's any areas where I'm able to help there, I love that idea. Making sure we're getting access to those services, definitely. And I think even with Bobby, it was a great example of, while Lillian herself was not able to have them in her assisted living facility because they were with her son, she still was able to experience that bond. So lots of ways we can get creative. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Oh, we could talk about lots of community outreach connections that we could do together between what we do and what Hannah does. Lots and lots of ideas.
So for those we are here, if you have somebody that we can put on the list, maybe we can start sending to each other some names for service providers so we can help putting a list together.
Yeah, definitely. All right, does anybody else have any questions, comments, kudos? I'm excited because this is going to be, this is a really good update and refresher. And plus, I'm really happy to introduce us to Hannah, and and that we're going to start a collaboration moving forward with the seniors real estate specialists in our market. And every market, everywhere, every geography has the same or similar. So the concept, the same or similar. And it's such a big part of our senior homeowners and the families of senior homeowners. And if we have a good, solid resource for managing that whole issue again, because Hannah, we do encounter crisis and challenged families. So one of the things is for us to have a resource that we can turn to provide solutions for these crises and challenges. All righty, everybody.
Well,
So go ahead.
I just want to remind everybody, next week is going to be crypto and real estate. Crypto is becoming more and more accepted and used in real estate transactions. And if you guys are like me, it's really confusing, and I don't have an idea at all of what to do. But hopefully we'll get something there straightened out, and I think it'll be an interesting presentation. Once again, for Saturday, those of you that are going to attend the Caring for Caregivers conference at the Campbell Community Center, let me know. I just typed in there that so far it's Julie, me, Sandy, Ron, and Carlos. If anybody else is going to attend, let me know and I can hold a place. I'm going to try to put up a sign on the table so you can find us, and it'll probably be close to the food. So we hope to see you guys on Saturday, and otherwise we'll see you then next week for crypto.
And we'll just reiterate that the speakers on the panel discussion on Saturday is Deidre Jizze and Katie Cooney, which are our colleagues and our colleagues in our networking meetup group. So and there are really good resources. Deidre is the gerontologist, and Katie does senior community placement. So both very vital resources for us as senior real estate specialists. So, all righty, everybody. Thank you so much. Thanks, Sandy, for being here. Lynn, I'm going to just give everybody a hand. Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you so much, Hannah. This has been amazing. You're stuck with us now.
Thank you all for having me. I appreciate your time.
So
All right, everybody. Have a great
Bye.
week.
Bye. See you Saturday.